forward. Unless you want me to talk all day long. No.
Yes.
No, I can't hold it together that long. Fun, yeah? Okay, this is the part that I call the accessorizing part of the program. Yes, okay, so what you have done thus far is created a basic spread, which is great. Basic spreads can be utterly complete and perfect in and of themselves, just as any little black dress can be perfect in and of itself. But you can add things to it to make it even more special, to make it more useful, more appropriate. Now I have like 6 bazillion ways to do this, but I'm only going to show you 2 today because, you know, we only have so much. Well, you know what? I'm writing a book that's is going to be all of this and more, and it'll have all that. So it'll be, I don't remember, next spring, I think. Yeah, okay, anyway, so now you start with the basic spread, and now it's time to add something extra. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is dividing your deck. Okay, well first let me talk about the divisions of the deck, and then I'll talk about how to use it in a spread. Okay, one of the cool things about tarot is the structure of the deck. We can divide the deck down into a lot of mini decks, right? And we're really used to talking about the major arcana and the minor arcana. They play different roles and provide different types of information, don't they? And we can divide the minor arcana down into 4 suits that also provide very special, or represent very specialized aspects of our lives. And then you can pull out the court cards, who also represent special bits of information. So you have these, let's say 5 mini decks within your main tarot deck, and they all have specialties. So why not utilize those specializations for specific roles in your spread? That is an example. Yes, an example would be very helpful, wouldn't it? Here's an example of what I'm talking about, and one way that I've used this. Okay, so I have this 6-card spread, and the first card, which represents the energy of the situation, I pull that card from the major arcana deck. After I've divided up my cards, major arcana deck, that card gets pulled from that one. Then 2 through 5 represents the experience of the situation, and I would pull from each of the suits. The Ace through 10, the Ace through 10, Wands, Cups, Swords, and Pentacles, and to get a full expression of the situation for all corners of our experience, right? And then the card on the bottom, card 6, would be advice for the queer. How to act, what characteristics to show or utilize in this situation. And you pull a court card to get that. So that's what I'm talking about when I mean separate your deck, make use of the specialized information that each mini deck in the deck does. Now, I forgot to say this in the beginning. I'm going to be showing you 2 accessories. I'm just showing them to you. You do not have to incorporate them in your spread today. You don't have to incorporate either one. You don't have to incorporate both. Your spread can stand just as it is, okay? This is just FYI. Use it if you want to, because I don't want you to get too overwhelmed. But that's a pretty cool idea, and one that I use a lot when I design spreads, and I want them to be very specific and very clear. You know, and another thing too, which when I was sharing this idea with my friend Corrine, she suggested too, if you were doing a reading just about romance, you could just use the Cups cards. You know, so you could just use design a spread to utilize just one of the sections. Okay, is that clear? Questions? Yes?
When you're giving advice from the point of view of the court card, is it the profile, the elemental profile of the court? Is it your perception of what that court card would be saying, or does the court card choose something else to speak from? What is the speakingness of it? You know, is it the personality? What is that advice being sourced from for the court card? I mean, let's say that the King of Cups comes up as the advice card. Are we speaking from the point of view of the King of Cups? Is it the
I see what you're
personality of that,
asking.
or is the King of Cups the one who's the advocate?
Okay, good, I get you now. Yeah, well, and it could depend on how you've designed and intended the spread. When I do it...
Did everyone hear the question?
Oh, the question was, is this card, the court card advice, from the point of view of the King of, say, the King of Cups? Is the King of Cups giving advice, or is it advice for the querent on how to act? And I say, it depends on what you, because this was just an example, this is not a spread that you have to do, but when I do it, I say that it's advice of how the querent can act, or behave, or approach. But you can do it however you like, yes?
Does that depend on our QQPI?
Precisely, exactly, because remember, all of this that we're doing is to make your spreads easier to interpret, which means taking into account not only these general principles, but also your style, your beliefs, and what works for you. So everything, we could all do the same spread and do it differently. We could do the same spread with the same cards and do it differently, right? So we have to keep in mind our uniqueness. Yes? Oh, I forgot. This was some of my shameless self-promotion opportunity.
She's so bad at it.
These cards are from the steampunk show that I'm working on. The artist is still working on it, and it should come out in 2012, spring of 2012, I think. So pretty soon. Thank you.
And you can see more of it on...
Oh, and you can see more of it on, I have a blog dedicated to this website, which at the end I'll have the URL for that. Yes.
Self-publishing, or you?
No, Llewellyn's going to be doing this one.
Oh,
Okay, now this is, I don't really have a name for this technique, I just do these, but this is one I like a lot. Now, based on the presentation that I've done so far, you know I'm very into the visual aspect of a tarot reading, it's a visual experience. So, I want to see how the cards relate to each other. And I like the idea of moving cards. Now, and this is something you can, this is something you can keep in mind tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, this afternoon, when Kathleen talks about significators, because, and I'm so glad she's doing it, because I think significators are underused because we don't know how to use them. And I always thought if we bring the significator into the reading, make it an active player in the reading, it will influence the interpretation and the final answer. So, you know, so moving a card around and making it an active player with the other cards is going to change things. And let me, again, use an example. And again, this is not the way to do it. Just think of the idea of moving cards in your spread and how that can work for you. And here's one of my regular ones that I use with clients when I read at the store all the time. It's a modified basic horseshoe. So the top card, of course, is the querent. The top two cards represent the past, present, and future. And so when I do the reading, I interpret the cards as you normally would. One by one, the querent's on top, whatever. Then I want to see how the querent felt in the past and how the past shaped the querent. So I move the querent right between the two cards representing the past. Now when this card, one that may have been strong and happy and good up on top by itself, if it gets between these two cards, how does it feel? What are those cards? How are they shaping and affecting it? And how are those changes going to be drawn forward when you move down to the present? How does the querent feel between those two cards? And so on. I think, yes, Thalassa.
The two columns, are they two aspects of the temporal places, or?
I wasn't going to go into tons of detail, but yeah, I usually use this column to represent the energy of the situation, and then this